we're going to need more water. Plants are going to need more water to grow. They're going to have a longer growing season, and that sort of thing. So, at Grand Canyon, we're managers, among other things. We're out there, we're trying to manage a resource. We're trying to manage the people who come to visit that resource. And so what does it mean for us in terms of managing the Grand Canyon? Well, one thing it means is that, those hikes, all those people who get sick because of the heat now outside of the Grand Canyon, imagine how much fun they're going to have when it's 135 degrees at Phantom Ranch on a hot summer afternoon. So we can expect an increase in heat-related illnesses. We can expect our fire season to get longer. The snow won't last as long into the spring. The woods will be drier in the summer. Maybe some good news. The North Rim might be able to stay open longer, not closed for season. And we also can expect more air pollution alerts. Ozone levels at the Grand Canyon are almost at what EPA considers unhealthy today. With higher temperatures, those ozone levels could go higher. And so unless we can reduce the pollution loads coming into the park from major urban areas like Phoenix and Vegas and Southern California, we could start seeing unhealthy ozone levels at Grand Canyon. Particulate levels, the tiny particles in the air that cause so much of our haze, those could increase as well because of more forest fires, because of reduced plant cover, and more wind-blown dust and things like that. Okay, precipitation over the next century is a lot more difficult to predict. And so the climatologists suspect that we may see somewhere from nothing to a 5% annual decline in precipitation at Grand Canyon here in northern Arizona. Places to the north of us may actually see an increase. Places to the south of us may see a decrease. We're kind of on the hinge line here. One thing, though, that with those normal temperatures, or with those higher temperatures, we do expect that we won't have as much snow in the wintertime, and what snow we do get will melt a whole lot faster. We won't be storing our water in snowpack anymore. Well, not having water storage in the snowpack is not good news for a place where drought has always been part of the climatic picture. Well, where's the water going to go? We're expecting an increase in extreme events. Bigger floods, longer droughts. Our snowpack is going to melt earlier, so we'll be storing less water as snow in the mountains. And less of it is going to be able to soak into the soil because more of it's going to come down as gully washers instead of as snow or as gentle rain. That's going to lead to more soil erosion, which gets us into kind of a vicious cycle of less soil absorption, more soil erosion, less soil to absorb, more soil to erode. Some studies have looked at current management practices and estimated that a 50-50 chance that both Lake Mead and Lake Powell might be at their minimum power pool as soon as 2017. And at dead pool, in other words, what flows into the lakes flows out of the lakes because they're at the lowest exit from the dam as soon as 2021. Now those projections were based on current management practices, and so the water masters along the Colorado River are already devising new management practices to deal with the potential for drought. But as we see more extreme events happening in the Grand Canyon, what are we going to be faced with from a management standpoint? Well, SAR, that stands for Search and Rescue, all those people who really shouldn't have hiked down to Phantom Ranch because it was 135 degrees, and now we've got to get them out. Those intense rain events that we're expecting to happen more and more often, flooding out trails, corridor developments like Phantom Ranch, and then vulnerability of our utilities and our buildings to fires from the increased fire activity. Visitation may change as a result of climate change or as a result of our response to climate change. How will, we don't have a greenhouse gas policy right now. There's a lot of ideas being floated around. How will whatever policy we decide on affect the cost of transportation? Will we have fewer visitors, but Or will people come here and stay longer? They spend so much to get here, they're not going to leave now. Will people start looking for electrical outlets instead of gas stations when they come to visit us? Is it going to affect the seasons? You know, now we're real busy in the summer, but winter's a real nice, quiet time to get away from it all at the Grand Canyon. Is that going to change? And, of course, lurking in the background there is the current economy. And all I know is that my retirement fund is nowhere near what it used to be. I don't know how that's going to affect our future visitation. But how about the Grand Canyon, the physical environment, the Grand Canyon biological environment, the treasure that we are there to protect? How is that going to change as a result of climate change over the next century? Well, I keep talking about our more extreme events of flood and drought, things that we used to call 30-year events that have a probability of happening once every 30 years or so. Those kind of extreme events by the end of the century could be happening every 2 or 3 years. For those of you who are around in 1995, you might remember our most recent 30-year flood on Bright Angel Creek down inside the Grand Canyon. It washed out the Trans-Canyon water line that brings water to the south rim from the north rim. So that 30-year flood flushed our pipeline into the Colorado River, and for a couple of months we had tanker trucks running round the clock, day and night, from Williams to the Grand Canyon and Flagstaff to the Grand Canyon, keeping water flowing to the canyon so we could keep the national park open. So imagine something like that, instead of happening once every 30 years, happening every 2 years or every 3 years. Once we get down inside of the canyon and start taking a look at our springs, the source of much of the biological diversity in the Grand Canyon, with that reduced snowpack and that reduced water infiltration, how will those springs fare? Some of them, when we look at the water chemistry, a lot of our bigger springs, about half the water that comes out of those springs is relatively recent water. It's water that's fallen as rain and snow within the last couple of years. So we could be looking at the potential for some of our springs to run dry as that infiltration rate reduces. If we look at the vegetation growing in the canyon, the response of plants moving up and down, finding places where they live or where they can live, will change. Fire, drought, insects, disease, all can be agents of change in the canyon. At double the current concentrations of carbon dioxide, some of the biological models that Dr. Ken Cole down here at USGS has run suggest that Joshua trees and juniper trees will disappear from the park. We'll only have ponderosa pines on the north rim, but we might get saguaros if they can spread up here in time. So Saguaro National Park, eat your heart out. Our wildlife will change. Already we have javelina in the park, a new addition, a warm climate addition. Other animals will change as well as their food sources change. Some of our creatures may have a difficult time adjusting to seasonal changes because some of the little animals know that it's springtime because the days get longer. Others of the little animals know that it's springtime because the temperature's getting warmer. And when the little animals that get hungry when the days get warmer go out to look for to eat the animals that are waiting for the days to get warmer, their schedules might not always cross. And so consequently, and this has been something documented over in Great Britain already, we have birds whose breeding season is no longer tied to the peak in insect populations that they need to feed their young. And plants growing on carbon dioxide-rich atmospheres tend to produce less protein in their tissue, and so they're not as nutritious. So what are we doing at Grand Canyon? A lot of different things to try and prepare. We've got our mass transit system, the shuttle buses that we make everybody ride out the Hermit Road and encourage everybody to ride elsewhere. A lot of our buildings now have sustainable design. We have an aggressive recycling program. We're burning alternative fuels. We're educating our visitors. And just yesterday, park management decided to join the Climate Friendly Park program, which is a cooperative effort with the US EPA to track and reduce different types of air pollution and